Welcome friends of the channel, back here at Garage Therapy. It's another detailing diary. Today we're looking at paint imperfections and studying, more importantly, how to correct them. We're going to be using the trusty Little Irish. Before we get stuck into the paintwork on that though, we need to give it a clean. Maz is already hard at work, then we can bring it in here and take a look up close at the paint on Little Irish, the good bits and the bad. Job done, let's have a chat with Maz. Maz, thanks for having us back at Garage Therapy today.
Can we start again?
Maz, thanks for having us back at Garage Therapy.
Welcome back.
Paint imperfections is part of today's detailing diary.
Yes.
What does that mean?
When the paint is sprayed on the surface and it's cured, there will be minor imperfections in it that the painters will then either sand away or machine polish off to give you a lovely, perfect finish. Now, as you drive the car and it lives its life outside and on the road, it will pick up imperfections from driving, but it will also pick up imperfections from the end user who cleans the vehicle. So this is a car that's covered 166
now.
166,000 miles. It's had a respray, so it's aftermarket paint as well. But what I can see in the paint, and bear in mind I haven't panel wiped this down, but I can see swirls. I can see RDS, which is random deep scratches, etching from water deposits, and some chemical burns as well. And there's a bit of like bird etching.
It tells a lie.
It tells a lie, yeah, the stone chips. So I think the first thing is what are swirls? Swirls are very fine scratches that you accumulate when you wash the vehicle and when you dry the vehicle. And good wash practices will mitigate the swirls from accumulating on the surface of the paint.
So you've pointed out a number of problems looking at one panel, which is frightening. The question is, how much of that can be removed or improved?
That is the $1,000,000 question. Modern paint is effectively, to keep it simple, 3 parts. You've got your primer, you've got your colour coat, and you've got your clear coat.
Let's get the whiteboard out and look at this on a molecular level.
So you have the metal substrate here.
Mm-hmm.
You then have your primer. You then have on top of the primer your colour coat. The colour coat is protected by a lacquer, and the lacquer doesn't lay down flat. It's actually got various imperfections in the lacquer. So if you zoomed in microscopically, you will see all of the various imperfections in there. So this part here might be where you've had some staining from water. These jagged edges will be the scratches and the swirls. Now what we do when you're machine polishing is you're just effectively cutting those peaks off the scratches so that when the light comes in and it deflects away, your eye doesn't catch those really deep edges of the scratch. So they effectively round off. When you lay a protective product on top, what you're effectively doing is you're filling in some of those scratches, and again you're altering the way that the light reflects off the surface. So if you do a combination of machine polishing and protection, you're then leveling out that surface, in which case you get a much better reflection and the paint looks healthier. The downside to machine polishing is that the more lacquer you remove from the surface, the less protection you have on the car, i.e. from the actual physical clear coat itself, and you compromise the UV capabilities of the clear coat. So today what we'll do is we'll show you what each of the protective products will do. You can clean the paint to make it look great, That's very important because the contaminants will go into those valleys and give a dull finish. You can add a product on top that may have some filling capability that will improve the flatness of the surface by filling it up with polymers and silicons and stuff like that. You can use a product like a ceramic coating, which will give you a hard, dense layer that will again fill some of those swells and scratches in the clear coat and improve the appearance. And you can machine polish to flatten the surface. And you can combine all of those things together to give a brilliant result.
Before we start demonstrating the various methods to improve the look of your car's paint, Maz applied some panel wipe to rid the surface of as much contaminants as possible before digging out the clay bar.
Now, I don't recommend doing this on your own paint without knowing what the downsides of doing this. So I will be inflicting some damage by doing this, but I just want to illustrate how contaminated your paint is. So if I rub my hand on there, you can almost hear the rough, and that your paint shouldn't sound like that. All you should be hearing is the squeaking of my fingertips really on smooth, clean paint. So what we have here is a clay bar. It's a synthetic clay. It's typically made of polyurethane or polyethylene type substances. There's different types of clay out there on the market with other different materials. But what this effectively is a way of cleaning the clear coat of contaminants, and think of it like 5,000 grit sandpaper. So you're almost sanding, for lack of a better term, the surface, which then pulls the contaminants off the surface. And the reason why I'm using the analogy of sanding is when you clay, even when you use lubricant, it will cause some damage to the paint.
Trying to keep it in one direction. And you can hear it rubbing on the surface as it's pulling up the contaminants. See the slight discoloration of the clay bar where it's picked up that dirt. Now there's no sound.
Wow, okay. Guys, I'm really feeling the resistance there, whether that's like, feels like rubbing your hand over like some piano keys.
Yes.
In this case, where you've got a lot of swells, you can't really see the damage it's caused, but it's certainly, from a feel perspective, cleaned up the paint, and even possibly from a visual perspective as well.
I'm going to use this sponge wax applicator purely just to isolate the chemical into this specific area rather than using a towel. Show you what effects like a quick detail it can have on the look of that surface.
You see there's less swells going from one section to another. Exactly. So that's where it's left material in those scratches.
And this concludes the quick detailer section.
The more defects your paint has got, the more these products shine, because they effectively fill in the imperfections on the paint. So when someone gets a product and they spray it and they can't think, wow, look at this amazing gloss that it's left. Partly that's because you've got so many defects in your paint that it's because it's leveled out a lot of those imperfections by filling it with synthetic materials. It then improves the surface quality because it's filled in those imperfections. Now, you get some products that don't have very good filling ability and some products that do have good filling ability. So what we'll demonstrate now is what a more stout product would do in terms of filling and improving the surface appearance than just a standard quick detailer. So the next product we're going to demonstrate is Sigma. Now this is like a hybrid sealant, and it lays a lot more material down than something like a quick detailer would do. So again, I'm going to spray it into an applicator pad because we want to control where we're applying the product for demonstration purposes. Work that into this surface. Now I haven't clayed this part of the vehicle, so this is just on as your paint was when we cleaned it. standard paint. When you get the light there, you can see a massive difference. Filled in a little bit more than the quick detailer, and again it just improved the look of the paint, especially when you shine a light on it, which when it's outside you're going to see a big difference. I'm now going to demonstrate a wax. Now our alpha wax will typically leave a lot more material down than Sigma, which is a hybrid sealant slash detailer, or our standard quick detailer. Now if you really want to improve the look of your paint, then this wax will definitely do that. As with any wax, you want really thin coats. You can see how much it's filled.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
After. I'm going to do a little machine polish section as well, right? So we'll just remove the ceramic coating. Now bearing in mind this is an unprepped section of paint. We haven't clayed it, we've literally just applied one of our ceramic coatings on there to show how it can improve an unprepped bare paint, I say bare paint, bare clear coat surface. What you will notice, a bit like the wax, is it almost leaves behind a layer of material, well, it does leave behind a layer of material on top because it's quite a thick product.
You can literally see like where it was taped off, like the square.
It's almost a different colour, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's more rich.
So taped it off, I've obviously clayed this section to get all the contaminants out of the paint, and that will help the polish work better and the pad work better, because it's then not clogging the microfiber or the foam up with dirt, which reduces the cut, and then you add more defects into the paint. And now I'm gonna use a compound to cut the surface. Just to get all the polishing oils to show in.
As you'd expect, the results were marked.
So that's the coating.
Yeah.
Right, and then you go into the this is what it was like. So this little bit here. And that's...
After machining the entire roof and buffing off with panel wipe, Maz gives a final inspection for quality before adding the Garage Therapy ceramic coat to conclude. Look, before we talk about like what's gone on here today, one thing I just kind of want to make clear is like, why are we doing this? The reality is every car has paint imperfections. So what we have done today, what Maz has done today, you know, is absolutely relevant to you and every car out there. Every car is covered in them. So the question is, particularly if you're an enthusiast and you like and you care for how your car looks, you know, the question is, well, how do you overcome those imperfections and have your pride and joy looking the very best? That's the point of it. And as you've just shown, there are many ways to do that, Maz.
Yes. What we demonstrated today was how each of the different protective products, so we have the quick detailer, the Sigma V3, which is a hybrid sealant slash quick detailer type product, the wax, alpha wax, and a ceramic coating, how they fill the imperfections and add gloss to the surface without having to clay the vehicle or machine polish the surface before you do that. What those products demonstrated was the simple fact of adding on a product boosted the appearance of the vehicle, which is what they should do, right? They should boost the appearance of the vehicle, make it shiny, glossy, and more presentable when you go to a show or you're driving it outside to the eye. What we also showed is we showed the effect of claying the car, and we also noted that when you clay the car, it does add damage to the surface. So if you do clay your vehicle, you should really ideally polish the car afterwards. And we also showed that when you properly clay the surface and machine polish the surface, that has a much more dramatic effect than just layering a product on top of the paint.
For me, like watching you get to work on this car today, if you could do like a graph of like those 4 different ways of like attacking the paint, it's like step 1, like the quick detailer, is like the quickest by far. Then, you know, step 2, step 3, step 4, you grow in the amount of time needed on the car. So this is worth knowing because it's about you finding the right method for you and your paintwork. So as you go up, it's like more time invested in it. There's also the price point of view as well, like you were saying with like the ceramic coat at the end.
Yes.
Obviously, you know, like that's going to be, it require far more kind of financial outlay than a quick detailer.
Yeah.
But mirrored to that is, as we've seen today, and hopefully people at home have seen it, is the end product and the result. So it's about finding, you know, your decision is going to be based on how much time you want to spend on the car, how much you're willing to pay, but do bear in mind that ultimately that will affect the quality of the finish.
Absolutely, you've effectively covered everything that I was going to say. So,
Sorry.
Welcome to our latest employee. No, you've articulated it very well. Each step has its pros and cons. As you rightly identified, the quick detailer is the quickest, and you do that more frequently. So every week, every other week, when you wash your car, it's a good idea to use the quick detailer as an added lubricant and protection step at the end. It takes a few minutes. It's not the end of the world. It's worth doing, and it tops up your existing base layer protection if you have that on the vehicle. The next stage of product, as we said, a sealant, that takes typically a little bit more effort to apply. Some sealants are harder than others. Our product is Sigma V3, which is quite an easy sealant. Another product we have is ceramic sealant, which is a little bit more involved to apply, but not much more. So as you rightly said, there's different times allocated to that and different costs allocated to that. Our ceramic sealant is almost double the price of what our quick detailer is, as an example. Now, you're right as well that a wax, although some waxes are very easy to apply, they do take a lot longer to apply because you're literally going around the whole car, rubbing it in circles, wax on, wax off, that sort of thing, which obviously takes time. However, you saw, certainly with our wax, I can't speak for other competitors, but certainly with our wax, it feels amazingly well, and you can achieve an amazing effect on the look of your paint, it filling in the imperfections and protecting the paint at the same time. So that cost versus reward ratio is quite good if you suffer really poor quality paint. However, the downside of a wax, not our wax, because our wax actually lasts a very long time, but most waxes you're only getting maybe 3 months durability out of it. Now, as you rightly said, the next cost point is the ceramic coating. Without going too much into the rabbit hole on this one, is should you apply ceramic coating over unprepared paint? There's logic to saying yes, depending on how you treat your vehicle, because you may have very thin clear coat, so you can't remove any more paint off the surface. So therefore you would want to add the coating on there to preserve that surface. However, to get the best results from a coating, you ideally need to do the full preparation process, machine pot, clay, chemical decontamination, claying, which is mechanical decontamination, and then you apply the coating product on top, and that way it bonds perfectly well. You get the best results in terms of, as you saw, with the clarity and the depth of colour and all the lovely gloss that you get from a coating, and they last for years. So completely different end of the spectrum and completely different ethos to applying a coating generally, a full-blown, full-fat coating, as opposed to the other forms of protection. I think what's important, especially with your car, is you're doing 20,000+ miles a year. It lives a hard life. Therefore, the amount of preparation, the amount of work to maintain the quality of the paint is that much more, because you're really using the car to its full potential.
The other thing is, I'm realising there's just no cheat codes. You know, the more effort you put in and the better product you buy, you know, then the better the result is going to be. And that really is, again, whether you're interior or not, that's the rule, really.
Yes, yeah, correct process trumps product, generally.
Okay.
You know, we've discussed this in our seminars that we've done online, that maintenance and keeping on top of the routine maintenance tasks is key, as you would with your engine and the suspension and the servicing of the vehicle. It's the same with your paint.
Maz, thank you very much as always for your
My pleasure.
expertise, for your hard work on this with the detailing diary. As I said, if there's anything else that you'd love for Maz to cover so that we can all collectively learn how to look after these cars as best we can, please let us know in the comments below. Maz from Garage Therapy, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.